If you told me a month ago that I'd be hunted by a shadow creature lurking in the depths of Chilser, I'd have laughed you off. But now, that laugh is long gone. I guess I should start from the beginning, back when I first met Anya. It was early autumn, and the shadows around Chilser had started stretching longer. Locals warned that the forest had a way of changing people, and that at night, it whispered secrets best left unheard. But at 17, I didn't believe in curses or creatures. That all changed when Anya appeared. It was a dull Tuesday afternoon when Anya walked into our classroom, with her sharp green eyes and that piercing gaze that seemed to see right through you. She didn't look like the type to talk about ghosts or curses, but then again, she had a way of surprising you. After class, she cornered me by the lockers. "You're not from around here, are you?" she asked, eyebrow raised. "No, just moved here." "Was?" She gave me a half smile. "Curiosity. You seem different." At first, I thought it was her strange way of trying to make friends, but then she whispered about the Farallon, a creature bound to Chilser. They said it was a remnant of a time when the forest ruled these lands, a beast made of shadows and whispers, feeding on those who dared to summon it. Most dismissed it as an old wives' tale. But Anya, she believed. "Why are you telling me this?" I asked, half laughing. "Because it's real, Roman," she replied, dead serious. "I've seen it." I rolled my eyes, but her words lingered. A strange thrill knotted me. A thrill mixed with a touch of fear and curiosity. The next evening, Anya brought a group of us to the edge of Chilser. The air was thick, the kind of cold that settles into your bones. A couple of classmates, Marco, Isabel, and Sasha, tagged along, probably for the same reason I did. Boredom mixed with the thrill of something forbidden. "Alright, everyone, this is simple," Anya explained. "We're going to call it." "It?" Marco scoffed. "Yes," Anya replied, her tone flat. "But be warned, it doesn't like being disturbed." We laughed, nervous but intrigued, and went along with the ritual. She handed each of us a smooth, black stone and muttered strange phrases. In hindsight, I should have known better, but curiosity won out, and we went through with the ritual, not thinking anything would happen. At first, there was nothing, but as we headed back home, the air felt colder, and a creeping silence seemed to follow us. Over the next few days, strange things started happening. Shadows seemed to move on their own, flickering just at the edge of my vision. A low growl echoed through my dreams, leaving me cold with dread. I tried brushing it off as a prank by Anya or the others, but then one evening, I heard it, outside my window, a deep, guttural growl that made my skin crawl. Frantically, I called Anya. She picked up on the third ring, sounding groggy. "It's here," I whispered, barely able to keep the fear out of my voice. "I told you not to summon it unless you were ready," she replied, almost calmly. "Meet me tomorrow. We'll figure it out." The next day, Anya introduced me to her contact, an older man named Harper. He was a local historian, or maybe just a believer in the supernatural, judging by the strange charms hanging from a shop. His knowledge of the Farallon was unnerving. "You don't summon the Farallon," he told me sternly, with a dark, haunted look in his eyes. "It's bound to this forest, and it'll take anyone who calls it." "Take?" I asked, swallowing hard. He nodded. "It hunts you, but not just your body. Your spirit, your memories. When it's done, there'll be nothing left." As Harper's words sank in, I realized I'd been hearing the Farallon's growls more frequently, each one feeling closer than the last. Shadows crept along the walls of my room at night, stretching toward me as if they were alive. One evening, just as I was about to doze off, my phone buzzed with a message from Anya. "Meet me at the edge of the forest." It was late, and every rational part of me wanted to stay in bed, but something drove me out. I found her waiting, her face set and eyes focused. "We need to break the connection," she said. "I can help you, but you have to trust me." As we ventured into Chilser, the silence was suffocating. Anya whispered that the Farallon could hear every sound, so we kept quiet, moving like shadows ourselves. After what felt like hours, we arrived at an ancient stone circle, covered in moss and hidden deep within the forest. This is where it was bound, Anya said, lighting a small candle and placing it in the center. If we can weaken it here, you might stand a chance. As she chanted, I felt a chill creeping up my spine. Shadows gathered at the edge of a circle, merging into the vague, hulking shape of the Farallon. Its eyes glowed a cold, malevolent blue, locked onto me. I can move. Its eyes bore into me, freezing me in place. Anya's voice grew louder, her chant rising with an intensity I'd never heard before. Stay inside the circle, she shouted, but the Farallon edged closer, its form shifting and pulsing like smoke. Why is it coming closer? I managed to stammer, barely holding my nerve. Anya paused, her expression faltering. It's feeding on your fear. My heart raced. Every instinct told me to run, but somehow I forced myself to stay put, gripping the stone in my pocket as if it were my lifeline. You need to focus, Anya urged, her voice strained. Think of something strong, something pure. It can't stand that. I closed my eyes, desperately summoning every ounce of courage. Slowly, the Farallon's form wavered, its glow dimming, but it wasn't gone. The shadows receded, but the Farallon remained, watching, waiting. Anya stepped forward, taking a deep breath. It's not enough, Roman. We need something stronger. What do you mean? I asked, dread seeping into my voice. She hesitated, her face full of resolve. A memory, a part of you. I didn't understand, but she held my gaze with a fierce intensity. If you're willing to give something up, I can channel it, but it'll be gone forever. Desperate, I thought back to my family, my friends, moments I cherished. With a heavy heart, I nodded, closing my eyes as Anya whispered ancient words. A strange warmth washed over me, and the Farallon let out a piercing howl, retreating into the darkness. After that night, the woods seemed quieter. The Farallon's growls faded, and the shadows no longer seemed to watch me. But I knew that a part of me had been left behind in Chiosur. Anya was gone, having disappeared into the night without a trace. The days after that night were unsettling. I felt an emptiness I couldn't shake, like part of me had drifted away with the Farallon. The world seemed dimmer, as if Chiosur had stolen a piece of my spirit. I returned to school, going through the motions, but Anya's absence left me on edge. I still felt watched. One night, I couldn't sleep. The quiet of my room was so intense that it pressed down on me. I thought about Anya and the final look she'd given me before disappearing. Did she know more than she told me? I grabbed my phone and scrolled through old messages, looking for clues. Maybe Harper, the old historian, could help. The next day, I went to Harper's shop. He looked surprised to see me. "So, you still here?" he said, eyes narrowing. "What's that supposed to mean?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. He studied me, and his expression softened. "Sometimes, the ones who call it don't come back. Anya's gone," I said quietly, feeling a pain in my chest. "See, she saved me." He nodded as if he'd expected this. The Farallon takes what it's offered. Some say it only goes after the truly brave or the truly lost. I wasn't sure which I was, but it's over, right? I mean, I haven't heard anything. Not necessarily. Harper looked at me with a mixture of pity and caution. If the creature has marked you, it's never truly over. The forest remembers. I left Harper's shop with a pit in my stomach. That night, I dreamt of Anya and the forest. Her voice echoed through my mind, as if calling me back to the clearing where we'd faced the Farallon. When I woke, I found a small, dark stone on my windowsill, the same kind we'd used in the ritual. "Just a coincidence," I whispered, but my heart hammered. At school, I tried to brush off the unease, but everywhere I turned, I felt watched. In the library, as I reached for a book, my hand brushed against another stone. They were showing up in random places like little reminders that something still lurked, waiting. Around this time, a new student arrived in class. Her name was Mila, and she had the same intense look that Anya did. She noticed me staring and gave me a small, knowing smile. "Do I have something on my face?" she asked, smirking. I shook my head, embarrassed. "No, sorry. Just you remind me of someone." Her eyes sparkled with a strange intensity. "I get that a lot." She didn't pry, but over the next few weeks, we became friends. Mila seemed drawn to the mystery around Chioser. I wasn't sure why, but she was eager to learn about the town's legends and the Farallon. One afternoon, I finally broke down and told her about Anya. I didn't expect her to believe me, but she listened intently, her expression serious. "Sometimes, things cling to us in ways we don't understand," she murmured when I finished. "What does that mean?" I asked, feeling a chill. Mila shrugged. "Just maybe the Farallon isn't done with you." Soon after, the dreams grew worse. I'd wake up drenched in sweat, my ears ringing with the Farallon's growl. Mila suggested I take a walk through Chioser during the day to confront the fear, as she put it. Reluctantly, I agreed. But as soon as we entered the forest, a strange fog wrapped around us, swallowing every sound. Mila seemed unfazed, walking deeper into the trees, her gaze focused and unwavering. "Are you sure this is safe?" I whispered, clutching my flashlight. Mila smiled back at me. "Do you trust me, Roman?" Before I could answer, a low growl echoed from the shadows. I froze, heart pounding. "Did you hear that?" Mila stopped, her expression unreadable. "It's close," she whispered. The fog grew thicker, distorting our surroundings. Shadows shifted and danced around us, merging into shapes that seemed almost human, but twisted and unnatural. "Stay close," Mila murmured. But as she stepped forward, a figure emerged from the fog. A tall, shadowy creature with glowing eyes. It was the Farallon, its gaze fixed on me, its body shuddering with barely contained malice. "Why is it here?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. Mila didn't answer. Instead, she pulled out a small mirror, holding it between us and the creature. The Farallon recoiled, its form flickering. "Hold on to this," she said, handing me the mirror. "It can't stand its own reflection." I gripped it tightly, feeling a strange surge of courage. The Farallon growled, retreating back into the shadows, but I knew this was far from over. After our encounter, Mila confessed that she had her own connection to the creature. "It took my brother years ago," she admitted, her voice soft but full of sorrow. "I've been trying to find a way to get him back." I was stunned. "You think he's still out there?" "I have to believe he is," she replied, her eyes fierce. "The Farallon doesn't destroy. It collects." The word sent a chill down my spine. The creature wasn't just hunting for the sake of fear. It was gathering pieces of those it marked, like a collector building a dark museum of memories and souls. Over the next few weeks, Mila and I spent hours researching the creature. Harper even helped us, sharing old lore that hinted at a collector's curse placed on the Farallon, binding it to the forest and forcing it to gather fragments of life. "We need to confront it," Mila insisted, "to make it release what it's taken." "But how?" I asked, my voice shaking. "There's an old ritual," she explained, "one that can break the curse." It was dangerous, but at this point, I was willing to try anything to be free. On a moonless night, Mila and I returned to the ancient stone circle with Harper. We gathered supplies, a mirror, candles, and a lock of Anya's hair that Mila had kept as a keepsake. "If this doesn't work," Harper warned, but we didn't have another plan. As Mila began chanting, shadows gathered around us, forming into the shape of the Farallon. It howled, and I felt my chest tighten as if it were pulling the air out of my lungs. "Wickham Gao," Mila shouted, holding the mirror aloft. "Release the ones you've taken." The Farallon hesitated, its form flickering. For a moment, I saw faces within its shadow. Anya, Mila's brother, and countless others, their eyes pleading. Mila's chant grew louder, and the Farallon let out a guttural scream, its body unraveling like smoke. I felt a surge of energy, as if something within me was being restored. And then silence. When the sun rose, the forest felt different. lighter, as if a weight had been lifted. Mila and I sat in silence, letting the warmth of the morning sun wash over us. For the first time, I felt free, truly free. Anya, Mila's brother, and all those who had been lost to the Farallon were finally at peace. And as we walked away from Chilser, I knew I'd never look back. Or so I thought. In the weeks following that night, life felt almost normal again. Almost. The chill in Chilser had lessened, and I convinced myself that the Farallon, whatever it was, had retreated for good. But every so often, I catch sight of something dark and hulking in the distance, just beyond the tree line, like a shadow waiting in ambush. I avoided the woods at all costs. It had felt like the forest was reaching for me, tugging me back with invisible strings. The memory Anya had taken, that deep part of me sacrificed to repel the creature, left a hollow feeling. Oddly enough, I couldn't recall what memory I'd given up. I tried to grasp at it, searching the dark corners of my mind, but there was just nothing. Friends mentioned moments we'd shared that I no longer remembered, or brought up places I couldn't recall visiting. That emptiness became a silent companion, a reminder that something was missing. And Anya, as mysteriously as she'd arrived in my life, was gone, her seat empty in class, her phone disconnected. Her absence gnawed at me, as if she had been an anchor, keeping me from slipping back in a Chilser cold grasp. A few months passed, and life returned to its steady rhythm. I grew used to the empty spot in my mind, accepting that some things were lost for good. But one winter evening, just as snow began to dust the ground, I was leaving school when Marco and Isabel caught up with me, their faces pale and anxious. "Roman," Isabel said, glancing over her shoulder. I saw her. "Saw who?" I asked, trying to follow her gaze. "Oh no, in the woods." A chill crept over me, mixing with an uneasy thrill. "That's impossible. She's gone, Isabel. You know that." Marco stepped in, his expression somber. "We both saw her, Roman. She was by the old stone circle, just standing there, and she looked different." My heart raced as images of that night flooded back. "What do you mean different?" Isabel's voice dropped to a whisper. Her eyes, they were hollow, like something else was looking out through them. That night, sleep was out of the question. Anya's face haunted my mind, her green eyes now hollow and dark. I couldn't ignore it. If she was somehow connected to the Farallon, if she'd been lost to it, I had to know. The forest seemed to call me in my dreams, a low growl whispering my name from deep within the trees. The following day, I convinced Marco and Isabel to come with me to Chilser. "We'll just go to the edge," I said, trying to hide the fear twisting my insides. "See if there's any sign of her." As we approached the forest, that familiar chill crept back, the shadows lengthening in the late afternoon light. The forest felt alive, like it was waiting for us, watching. We walked quietly, each of us tense and alert, until we reached the stone circle. The air was thick, heavy with something unseen. Then, a faint figure appeared, standing at the edge of the clearing. "Onyo! Onna!" I called, my voice barely more than a whisper. She turned slowly, her face blank, her eyes dull and empty. "Roman." Her voice was soft, almost echoing, as though it came from somewhere far away. "You shouldn't have come back." My heart thudded painfully in my chest. "Anya, what happened to you?" She looked at me with an expression that was almost sadness. "It's bound to me now. I thought I could control it, but it's taken everything." Marco and Isabel shifted nervously beside me. "Roman, we need to go," Marco murmured, but I couldn't move. I had to know the truth. Anya raised a trembling hand, pointing at a dark shape emerging from the trees. A form I knew too well. The Farallon. Its eyes gleamed, cold and hungry, and it moved silently, as though gliding on the air itself. "It wants memories," Anya said softly, "and it never stops hungering." The creature's gaze locked onto me, and a strange sensation washed over me, like it was searching me, trying to find that hollow place inside me. I stumbled back, gripping the stone in my pocket. one of the smooth, black stones Anya had given us for the original summoning. It felt warm in my hand, pulsing with some faint energy like a heartbeat. "Use it," Anya said, her voice strained. "It's a piece of you. It might be in us." Isabel gripped my arm. "We need to go. Now." But I was transfixed. The Farallon moved closer, its gaze unblinking, a strange resonance filling the air. I could feel it reaching for me, its shadow stretching forward. Desperate, I clutched the stone tighter, holding it out. "Take it back," I shouted, not even sure what I meant, only that I needed to resist it somehow. The Farallon paused, its dark form flickering like smoke, and for a brief moment, I felt a connection, a glimpse of memories that weren't mine, visions of old forests, ancient rituals, and people long gone. Then the creature let out a low, rumbling growl that vibrated through my bones. Anya stepped forward, her expression fierce. "Yet to give it up, Roman. Every last piece." "But what do you mean?" I asked, feeling the stone pulse harder in my hand. She gave me a sad smile. "It's the only way to break the bond. You have to surrender everything at once. Memories, feelings, the parts that make you you." The idea of surrendering any more of myself was terrifying. But the creature's presence, that deep, primal fear, was stronger. Taking a deep breath, I closed my eyes, focusing on the hollow space in my mind. I let myself release more memories, moments I cherished, friends, places. I felt them slipping away, like leaves carried off in the wind. The Farallon's form flickered, as though weakened, and its cold gaze softened, becoming something almost grateful. It stared at me for a moment longer, and then, with a final low growl, it dissipated, fading back into the shadows. When I opened my eyes, Anya was gone. Months passed, and winter melted into spring. I felt lighter, though emptier, like a part of me had been erased. People spoke of events I couldn't recall, memories that felt distant and blurred. Marco and Isabel tried to bring me back, reminding me of stories we'd shared, but some things were simply lost. The Farallon's presence no longer lingered, and the forest seemed quieter, as if its hunger had finally been sated. But every now and then, I'd catch a glimpse of something in the trees. A faint figure, a shadow passing swiftly between trunks. I began visiting the edge of Chiosur from time to time, leaving small tokens, fragments of memories I no longer held, but felt compelled to honor. In my heart, I hoped Anya was at peace, wherever she was. One evening, as the sun dipped low, I found myself once again at the edge of the forest, the stone circle looming before me. And there, standing by the stones, was a figure I hadn't expected to see Anya. Or at least, something resembling her. She looked different, ethereal, like a wraith caught between worlds. "You came back," she said softly. "Bye. I didn't know where else to go." I replied, my voice barely a whisper. She gave me a faint smile. "You freed it, Roman, but you've also taken on its burden. Chiosur remembers those who tread too deeply into its shadows." A sense of understanding settled over me. I felt bound to the forest now, as if I'd taken on part of its ancient secrets, a silent guardian keeping its mysteries. I reached into my pocket and found a small token, a reminder of the life I'd once known. "I won't forget," I promised, setting the token down at her feet. Anya's figure shimmered, her expression one of peace and resignation. "Neither will I." And with that, she faded into the twilight, leaving me standing alone by the stones, a new protector of Chiosur.